before we went on.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Fempreneur True Confessions podcast.
Welcome, everyone. It is great. And it is 11/11. So I'm going to go there. It is the luckiest day of the year. So if you haven't done all your things in your manifestation, get on it, people, because this is an amazing day. And we're going to have a great podcast today. So if you don't know, I'm Laura or Oda, and I own a virtual assistant project management agency that is here to help behind the scenes of your business so that you can grow your business confidently, knowing that you have the help and assistance you need.
Awesome. And I am Angelique with Lady Powerhouse Solutions. And I do project and event management for women who are out there doing their thing, on fire, following their passion, their drive. And we help them achieve their mission in the most authentic way possible.
Yes, ma'am. And Angelique and I, we do the same thing. So we are normalizing and figuring out how to support each other in business, how normalizing non-compete, telling each other's stories, getting all the support that we need for ourselves and for each other, the give and the get, the receiving that comes with that. And we are normalizing all of that. We do not compete. We do not worry about what each other's doing. We help each other in each other's businesses. Angelique's been a huge support in my business. And it's so much fun and so much easier to be in business with people who love and care for what you're doing, and really sharing that with each other. We've
and
grown.
Aligned.
Yeah,
We're aligned. And I think, in addition to doing the same types of things and helping each other, collaboration over competition, we say this every time, but being in community with other women that are aligned with you is very powerful. We highly encourage it. If you don't have a community, let us know. We will hook you up. And because we are in some that are fantastic, and we are all about sharing them. We're not gatekeepers here.
No, not at all. There's no need to gatekeep. We are truly in it for the win. Women win, communities thrive, this world gets better. We all know
Overall.
that. Yes. And we love our men supporters, but we all know that women have the power to make the true changes. And so we are all for this. And
that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. What a great segue, Laura.
Yes. I wasn't even thinking about it. But see, that's, divine intervention. I'm being guided by somebody else to keep me on my toes, right? And I am going to introduce Melanie. Melanie Morgan is a spiritual evolution expert whose journey is a testimony to the profound healing power of transformation. Having endured and overcome childhood trauma, long-term abuse, self-neglect, and the heart-wrenching loss of loved ones, Melanie has emerged as a beacon of resilience and divine feminine empowerment. Her path from brokenness to self-love has not only transformed her own life, but now guides others to their path of healing and self-discovery. As the author From Broken to Becoming and the creator of the She Pow, a transformative quest that's redeeming spiritual growth, she offers a unique perspective on healing. Through her words, her teachings, and deeply personal stories, she sheds light on the intricate journey from pain to purpose. Her work isn't just about love and light, it's about embracing the shadows, facing down the fear, and ultimately discovering an empowered self. With experiences ranging from spiritual encounters to personal awakenings, she defies conventional beliefs, and she offers a truly transformative approach to healing. So today, Melanie shares her gift of healing and divine wisdom with audiences worldwide. She connects deeply with others, and she's helping them break free from the pain, as well as embracing a life filled with joy. With joy, purpose, and the courage to truly live. Her story is inspiring, reminding others that the journey through the darkness can reveal a life of light, authenticity, and boundless love. Welcome, Melanie.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for having me and for inviting me. This is awesome.
Yeah,
love chatting with you guys. I've seen you guys, a couple of your episodes, and just love the flow in your conversations with others. So thank you.
Thank
Oh,
you.
wonderful.
We
That's
were having
awesome.
a great conversation beforehand, which we were giggling at the beginning because I'm like, okay, record or go live because this is what we're doing. So we're gonna
Yeah.
get back into the amazing conversation we were having beforehand and all
Yeah,
of
which we were talking about. You had mentioned in your intake form about being a collaborative force for change in our communities. How timely is this, you guys?
yes.
How timely is this for us right now, right? Politically, as well as divine, as a divine feminine. And I love that you use that word. And we were also talking about, girl, you and I have had a parallel, almost parallel journey. It's been a little bit different in timing, but we've gone through so many similar things to lead us where we are today. And Laura's right. You need to talk really fast because we need to get all of this done before the top of the hour because I have another call. So, and I wish I didn't because I feel like we could talk a really long time. So I'm going to shut up and let you dive in. Is Laura cracking up at me? She is.
Actually, I'm the one that talks too much, so we're gonna go.
Yeah. Yeah, we're both just going to go and just let Melanie take over because her story is powerful. And there's so many facets to it. But the one I do want you to talk about first, because I feel like this is kind of the meat, even though we're here to talk about, the collaborative force for change. What we have to get to is that place where we're ready, right? That place where we're ready to be that collaborative force. And maybe there's somebody out there who isn't ready and they're like, I'm not picking up what you're putting down. I'm not there yet. But you have a story that we ask on our intake form, what's the most challenging thing you've ever faced personally or in business that brought about significant change or improvement in your life? Like, what'd you learn? How did it shape you? Where did it take your future? And you had a really powerful story. So go.
All righty. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that great introduction, by the way. And the talker, I'm Chatty Cathy, like I told them, so you could probably change my name on the screen. But anyway, I'm going to talk about the most impactful part of my journey has been this. I lost two brothers back to back in very tragic ways, one to suicide and the other in a carjacking. So, as you can imagine, the tragedy and just the reliving of their event created it broke me to
Mhm.
my core. And I have always been a strong, independent woman because I'm the oldest of 10, right? And so I've always had to be the caretaker, the nurturer, the giver, the strong one, the one to assume all responsibility. But it broke me to the point where I lost everything inside of myself. So much so that in that identity, in that survivor identity, trying to really get back to myself, um, my marriage started falling apart because you can't love someone when you're so broken. There's just no way to truly give the nurturing that a relationship needs and requires, when you've lost it in yourself.
Yeah.
So I went into a period of darkness, and that darkness lasted about 3 years. The first 6 years, I ignored my grief, but when it finally came up on the first year of the three, I went into complete darkness, just absolute broken. Right? Didn't know who I was. Didn't care what anybody thought about me. Didn't really care about anything. And I started going lower and lower and lower, and then something happened. And I heard this voice in the corner as I'm laying in my bed, just crying tears, just crying for nothing, for everything, for all at once, right? And I heard, "Do you trust me?" And I was like, "Are you kidding me? Do I trust you? Do you see what my life is like right now?" Right? I've lost my brothers, my two ride or die folks, right? The two people that knew me
Yeah.
most forever and ever. And and my marriage is falling apart. Do I trust you? And I had to think about it. And I realized that along the way, through every pain point, through every tragedy that occurred, somehow, some way, I had what I needed, right? I didn't have much, but I had what I needed. And that woke me up, right? That said, okay, there's something here and I need to follow this. So I started following a path, and I finally, in the middle of the night, decided, once my divorce was final, it took 15 months, right? But once that divorce was final, I packed everything, and in the middle of the night had the trucks come and move me clear across country from Washington State to Texas, to where I knew no one and no one knew me. And I gave myself a year of freedom. And that year of freedom taught me, how did I keep myself stuck? What were these cycles inside myself, right? Not necessarily the cycles of relationships, but the cycles inside myself, my thoughts and my feelings about who I am and what I deserve. How did they keep me stuck? How did they break me? How did they stop me from becoming all that I can be and all that I was meant to be? And so I started writing the blog, The Fugly Ugly Truth, which is my own journey to self-love. And if you ever get a chance to read it, you're going to see my writing change, right? It talks about who I thought I was, everything I'd been through, and then what I learned about the warrior inside, right? And that warrior began to just shift everything. For the first time in my life, at the age of 50, I learned to absolutely love me, right? I learned to love me from a place that didn't require validation from anyone else. And I learned that I had something special that could contribute to the evolution of another who's broken. And I learned my mission in that moment. Now, mind you, I'm still a corporate genius, right? So I thought I was going to retire in the corporate world, and I thought I was just going to continue to climb the corporate ladder because I had been doing that. But I do automatic writing, right? Which is what part of my book was about. It was half of it was automatic writing, where the answers were coming to me. And in this automatic writing session, it was my conversation with God. And so I put it on the blog so people could hear what that conversation was like. I had never, ever in my life imagined myself, because I just learned to love me, but I never imagined myself being able to help someone else find that, right? And it just took a whole different turn. So that conversation with God taught me something. And whether you believe in God or Buddha or whatever, to me, it's a universal love, right? It is one connection that brings us all together. We just use a different language.
Yes.
Teach it, right? And so, anyway, my conversation with God told me that I was to spark this in other women, spark this in other people who find themselves broken, lost, and really begin to teach them what it's like to be whole, to love themselves, to truly become something more than they've never allowed themselves to be. And so this is how the journey began, but I still never heard of life coaching, never heard of all this stuff, knew the whole esoteric thing because I was born into a Catholic family, raised by a Buddhist mom, and chose, Christianity as my adulthood. So I had just been all kinds, right? But now I call myself a spiritual evolution coach, and here's why. We keep ourselves stuck in the beliefs and in the boxes that others have built for us to protect us. And then we build boxes around those boxes about ourselves to survive what others gave us, right? And so here we are in these box after box after box, like the little Russian, where they pop
Nesting dolls. Yes.
Yes. So like that, right? And we begin to unlayer those parts of ourselves, and we begin to break those things apart. And that's what it is to become an evolution within yourself, right? It's like, let's take off the layers that everybody else demanded on you and show you what you're truly made of at the core, right? That solid center of that nesting. right? Where there's no more layers. It's no longer a thin shell. It's exactly who you are, and you learn to live in that authenticity, because your authenticity is where your greatest success will come in. And if we can teach each other those things, and if we can really begin to unify that sense of self within people, imagine how much different this world could be.
Right.
You know?
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's the key, right? Is that we all have this potential,
Mhm.
and it's been conditioned out of us, or generational trauma has, you know, lots of great examples of how this happens. You know, like if you put a drop of dye inside of water and then you run water in it, how long it takes for that color to be completely removed, right? That generational trauma. Lots of great examples of that. I have a couple follow-up questions
Yeah,
just because I'm curious,
sure.
and then I want to dig into how you left corporate and where it went from there. Okay.
Absolutely.
So, first of all, when you first heard that question, that little voice in the corner of the room, do you trust me? Did you recognize who that was?
Oh, yeah.
How did you identify it?
Yeah, so I've always had a spiritual connection, always since I was a child. I mean, I could see things, I've been warned during typhoons, all kinds of crazy stuff. And that's for another time, but another conversation. But I knew the voice, right? Because the voice had been speaking to me as I wrote the book. I mean, it took me 2 months to write the book. It or had already come, and it was all the answers I needed to heal and find my own internal
Mm,
strength. So when that voice did come to me, I had already recognized it, but I think that was that moment where I needed to remove the resentment,
Mm.
right? Because I'd already had the faith. I already started following the path. I already believed that change was necessary. But in order to get past that and evolve, I had to release the resentment. So that question, I think, was to prompt that resentment inside of me so that I could bring it all out and release
mm,
it, right?
Yeah.
We live under suppression of what we hide.
Yeah. I think we're scared to say I'm fucking mad. I'm really freaking mad. Like and you don't want to say that. Like I shut down my gifts. Those who listen know that. And when I hit this wall in this moment where I knew it was all coming back, it was no, I'm pissed. Leave me be. I'm mad. And it was the force out to be like, now that you've said that out loud, not just in your head or something else, where you literally just said it out loud, now what? So you're pissed. So no, so what? So then what? Like, and then it was that moment of, oh shit, I can't stay mad. And I think getting it out, I hear a lot of people say, like, once you finally accept it, say it, admit to it, get really to it, and get okay with being angry. And no matter what your beliefs are, it's okay to freaking be mad. I think a lot of times, especially in the spiritual world, it's stay positive, right? Don't get angry. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense. But there's a
And that's
lot,
all fluffy stuff, right? That's fluffy
right.
spirituality, love and light, great. Yeah, but let's deal with the
what's
shadows
the
of
nitty
ourselves,
gritty?
the
Mm,
emotions. And
mm.
we are made as emotional beings, and to hide from them, it's like you're just suppressing a part of yourself that is powerful, right? I
Mhm.
mean, what does anger do inside of us, into our physiology? So imagine if we can harness those emotions, understand it, take the wisdom from it, how much can we grow, right? How much
So
can we become?
yeah, you actually said something right before Laura started talking about that, and I want to circle back to it
Sure.
about suppression. Something like we suppress what we hide.
Yeah, we suppress what we hide. If we can't come out and say, this upsets me, right? Then we are suppressed. If we don't come out and learn to say no when we want to say no, we become suppressed, right? When we become too nice for the sake of keeping peace, we become suppressed.
And what does that suppression do?
That suppression limits you. That suppression limits everything. Also, it takes away your own identity, because then we begin to live according to what
Yes, that's what I'm
everybody
digging for,
else.
where it takes away your power.
It takes away your identity, right? And your identity is everything.
Mhm.
Because when you lose that sense of self, then you are operating out of emotions that aren't even yours, and you don't know where they come from. And so, of course, we live in confusion, suppression, anger, frustration, and we don't know
Resentment.
resentment, and we don't know where it comes from.
Yeah.
When in reality, it was never ours to begin with.
Yep.
Right. Makes sense.
I love it. I love
Absolutely.
it. Okay.
Beautiful.
So you were about to get to the point where you were talking about how you were like this corporate genius, but that's not really where you wanted to be.
No, after I got that automatic writing, my conversation with God, I realized, I think I started realizing, but I started trying to implement that nurture and care in my corporate role, and started raising other women up to, train the things that I trained, to do the things that I do, started building them up in that way. And I realized, no, this isn't it. There's more, right? Because it's not just about me feeding a corporate budget, it's about me feeding a soul. And so, um, still, I hung on to that because that's my comfort zone, right? That paycheck was beautiful, right? And I'm about to give it up. That paycheck was so beautiful. And it gave me a comfortable life. It gave me the ability to move clear across Texas with nothing and start and create a successful environment for myself.
That was the other question I was going to ask. Like, why Texas?
I wanted sunshine. So I've just gone through a big winter storm in Washington State, and I was done. Okay. I'm an island girl, so I like sunshine and water. Right. And I stayed in Washington for my ex husband.
Okay. All right. All right. Moving right along. Sorry.
Yes. Yeah. I forgot where I was, but
My squirrel brain's why Texas? But
Right.
not because I don't like Texas. Obviously, I like sunshine too. I'm in Florida.
Mhm.
Okay. Sorry. So you figured out that wasn't going to work in corporate.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for the reminder, because I followed the squirrel. Yeah, I figured out it wasn't gonna work in corporate, and here's why. The courage to move clear across country took a lot. It took a lot of lessons. It took a lot of internal shadow work, boxing, right? I fought that thing tooth and nail. And then the courage to make friends, the courage to get out there. I took myself out for my 50th dinner, and I gave myself steak, lobster, and a cocktail, and made sure for the first time in my life that I was happy doing it, right? It was just me, myself, and I celebrating life. And I wanted to bring that to other people. And then I met this girl. I rented a 3-bedroom house when I moved to Texas, and this girl and her 2 kids had nowhere to go, and she was trying to get someone else to let them stay. And I offered my place. I said, I'm willing to help you as long as you help yourself.
Mhm.
Because it's about empowerment and autonomy. It's
Yeah.
about her understanding her own resilience and her own abilities, right? Not what I can give her, but what I can guide her to give herself, right? And so I started realizing how broken so many people are and why they stay in cycles of suppression, whether it be financial suppression, familial or internal suppression. There's suppression all over because we believe that someone else has to provide for us,
Right.
right? That
Yeah.
someone else has to be the answer, the savior, the
Yeah.
giver, right? The nurturer. And we fail to recognize that in ourselves. And that's,
We're conditioned to look for it elsewhere,
yeah,
Yeah.
especially as
Yeah.
women. Men, I don't think as much.
yeah,
Mhm.
Like they're conditioned to be like, you're the boss.
yeah. And then
Right.
we get
You and
shamed.
everybody else.
We get shamed for being independent.
Yeah.
We get shamed for being that go-getter entrepreneur, bring your fantabulous woo-woo ideas out there, whatever it is, right? That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
But woo-woo when it's emotional or spiritual, too deep for most folks to understand. But be out there, be brave, because that's where you're going to find fulfillment.
Right. Exactly.
But that's what happened. I had to teach. I found very I found some part of myself that I absolutely loved when I was helping someone else.
Mm.
see their own light. And that automatically just started
She was
shifting.
hooked.
I was hooked, but I still didn't know about life coaching, Kay. And guess what the universe did? They made my job, which I've been at for 15 years, absolutely unbearable. And I am the most flexible employee, right? I will work 16, 20 hours a day if you asked me. But it just became unbearable from an internal aspect, right?
Mhm. Oh, I hear you, girl.
Yeah. So I gave it up. And when I did, it was because I found myself crying on the couch because it's just so frustrated with my boss, right? And I was just like, I don't get this. And then I said, well, what don't you get, to myself? Well, I don't get why you're allowing yourself to be upset, right? I don't get why you're allowing yourself to stay. You braved it and moved clear across Texas. Why can't you brave it and let this go?
Yeah. Okay, then what happened?
And then I decided, I talked to my new husband, because I did remarry in Texas.
Oh,
So,
okay, that's another episode.
adores
Keep
me,
going.
adores me, right? And lets me be my quirky, unbridled self. He says, I'm a wind up doll. I wind her up and let her go, right? But anyway, so I'm sitting on the couch and he's like, why are you crying? And I tell him. He said, well, why don't you quit? And I'm thinking, because then I have to depend on you. Right? In my mind, that fierce independence that I just got, right? I treasured it because I just earned it. I just learned it. I just learned to love it, right? So that was a big thing. Then guess what? I went ahead and put in my 2 weeks notice that night, and it was 10:37, which is 10:10, endings and new beginnings, right? And I put in, the moment that I hit submit was 10:37. I'm like, oh, that's a sign, right? So I let it go. And the next morning they called, my boss's boss called. So I did not expect to come in and see your resignation. Can I change your mind? And I said, no, no. I appreciate everything. I appreciate the offer, but no, I think it's time, right? It's time for me to let go of this comfort zone and just find purpose, live on purpose, right? So I did. I let go and I checked my 401k and I bought stocks in the company. And it gave me, my 401k gave me exactly the amount that I needed to pay for coaching certification through Jay Shetty. Then my stock program gave me exactly the amount I needed to survive for the 3 months I was in training. Is that not a sign or what? Right? On time. And so I said, okay, so I'm not depending on someone. I do have the resources and they were made available at the time I needed them, right? Kind of the first lesson I learned on this journey.
Yeah.
So I let go. And next thing you know, I'm studying about life coaching. And when did this come up? This came up the day after I submitted my resignation. So it's like everything was aligning.
I didn't even know he offered life coaching certification.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What was that like?
The 6 months in certification training, because there's a lot of stuff that I just learned on my own, right? In the dark when I faced myself.
Yeah.
But it gave me structure and it gave me credibility to take what I had learned in the dark by myself and confirmed my wisdom gained. Right? It confirmed the knowledge. And so when I was in there, if you believe it, because now I'm a chatty Cathy, but prior to that, it was so hard for me to speak on one of our Zoom calls, our meetings with everybody in the room, even though I had all the answers. I had all this wisdom that was just bubbling up inside of me.
Yeah.
My voice would shake.
Now look at you, girl.
I know.
Okay, so we only have a few minutes left, so I want you to get to this part because I think it's real. Well, one, it's in alignment with the podcast, but two, I think it's just cool. It's a wonderful example of this in action. So you gave over, you kind of gave up, right? Like or let go, whatever, however, it's different for everybody,
Mhm.
obviously. But at some point, you ended up with 82 cents in the bank.
Yes.
And then what happened?
And I created this thing after I graduated the Jay Shetty certification school. I needed, I started digging deep, kind of like my own personal journey. Now I'm looking at my professional journey. And I created this, just asking myself coaching questions to myself, right? Sat in the mirror and I'd ask myself coaching questions, and it created my niche. And I realized, okay, so I created this program called the She Pow, right? See her evolve, passion, purpose, power, women, wisdom, and wholeness, right? That's what that stands for. And
Wow.
so, yeah, I created this and I was so excited to share it, that I gave people free classes, right? I just started telling everybody about the sheep how and about our internal child wounds and how we heal them and balancing our energies and divine feminine masculine. I was just all over the place,
So
excited.
go through the acronym again.
Sheep how. So it's see her evolve,
Okay.
passion, purpose, power of women, wisdom, and wholeness. So I started to break it down, right? And then it became something more because men started attending the sheep house. And they started getting huge transformations from these things. So I changed it to spiritual healing evolution, right? But still, it's still
Yeah, yeah.
encompasses it all.
Yeah.
Anyway, I showed somebody the sheep how on a quick Zoom call. They asked, "Hey, let's just chat, get to know each other." So I gave them, we talked, and I said, "Hey, you should attend my sheep how." And then I showed them a breakdown of what would be on it, and they're like, "Holy cow! Something like this, I would have paid $6,800 for." And I have paid for less, right? And I said, well, I'm not charging that, but you're welcome to come to the next one for free. And so she attended it and loved it so much that she ended up reaching out to her group that they've been on this spiritual journey together. It's like 22 people. And they were doing a reunion. And she said, I want you to host the reunion with your sheep house.
Wow.
And so we want to hire you to come to Costa Rica, and we want to bring you there. And we want all these folks. We'll introduce you to the 22 people in our group, and see if everybody wants to join. And so one by one, they just started. And the day that this happened, 82 cents in my account. I had nothing left, right? I'm about to ask my husband if he can pay my next month's bills, but I didn't want to do that because I'm stubbornly independent. But anyway, I get this notification from GoDaddy. Apparently, they had gone to my website and started purchasing, right, this product because I thought I could sell on GoDaddy, right? Because you can. Anyway, GoDaddy froze it because it reached $18,000 in one day. And
Wow.
I'm like, holy cow, right?
They
So they had,
froze it because you made too much?
yes, because, and then they fraud alert, right?
Oh,
So they held
Oh,
it for
wow.
120 days.
oh
They held that
no.
money. And so I was like, okay, well, I guess it's needed for later. So, but I had already transferred before they froze it 10 grand. Right,
Mm.
for the first few purchases. And so I'd already transferred it. So my account went from 82 cents to like $10,018, right? And I was like, oh my God. And 52 cents, right? So,
Don't
yeah.
forget the change,
So
right?
that's how we're, and you know what happened? If I didn't know the value of what I carried, she wouldn't have either.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Amen. Amen.
Beautiful.
Well, I hate that we're out of time. Like, I feel like we have so much more to talk about. So, this is what we say: you got to come back. You got to
Okay.
come back and give us the rest of the story. Like, that's not the end, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So, we definitely want to have you back, Melanie. Thank you so much for being with us today. You have a fantastic offer
I
for our
do.
audience. So, Tell us, tell us.
I do. So since the sheep, I've been evolving, right? And I'm now certifying coaches in personality assessments to look at clients' limiting beliefs and blocks and where they come from. But I am offering a free assessment to anybody from that says the Fempreneur podcast. They were guests on this podcast. Just let me know. Email me, Melanie at thesheephow.com, and I will do a free personality assessment and evaluation for you. I'll also provide the links. I'm sure that these will be in the bio below once the video posts. And then also, I run the Sheep How, and I am going to be generous for this holiday season because I just love it, right? And I'm going to give away the Sheep How, which I'm currently charging. I'm going to give away the 5-day mastermind. So you get to attend a live session with me. And anyone who wants to join that, let me know. I'll make a link available on my website at thesheephow.com to join it for this group only. Okay, so if you choose to join the Sheep How, you're welcome to join it. You're going to learn a lot about yourself. And even if awareness is all that you get from it, awareness is the beginning of healing and transformation. So
thank you so much. So generous.
You are so sweet.
I can't wait to go. I'm like, I'm so ready. I'm so ready. Okay. And I feel like I really want to go down the Jay Shetty, but the rabbit hole, but I'm not going to do it because we're almost out of time. So yes, we will drop all the links and all the information so you guys can go take advantage of this very generous offer by Melanie. And then one of the things we like to do is we like this week's guest to introduce next week's guest. And so we're going to allow Melanie to do that. And next week's guest is LaToya Sanders. I'm not sure which, but it's one of those.
Yes, LaToya Sanders, with expertise in military skill translation, resume building, USA job insights, and executive coaching. LaToya empowers transitioning military professionals to thrive in federal, corporate, and nonprofit roles. Her mission is to guide others in navigating their careers with confidence and clarity. And her skill is just much needed, especially when our men and women leave the armed forces and they're entering our new culture, right? Because the military culture and our culture are totally different. So I'm so excited to watch her program next. I truly commend what she does.
Yeah. And LaToya is also a certified coach. She's a certified federal career coach and job search trainer. She's got over 20 years experience in HR. And yeah, so we're really, I think this is again, cool the way our guests line up, because we don't, look at what everybody does and we go, okay, well here, let's put them here. And the universe lines it up. Everybody self-schedules and it always ends up to this wonderful flow. Almost like if you just listen to the episodes in consecutive order, it leads you through this wonderful course.
Right.
So now I'm about to go do that, right? So, yeah.
So thank you so much again, Melanie. We can't wait to have you back. I can't wait to see you again in January for the Sheep How. All right. And so our announcements, we have sponsorships. So if you guys are interested in supporting the podcast and what we do here, ftcpodcast.com to become a sponsor. If you're interested in being a guest, that's there too. If you just want to learn more fabulous stuff about us and the podcast and get a sneak peek to who is coming, get on the email list at ftcpodcast.com. All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Monday.
Bye.